Hello, readers, and welcome back to Reading in the Middle, the podcast where we celebrate great books and the authors who create them, and the stories that connect with readers during those unforgettable middle school years. I'm your host, Annisha Jeffries. Today's guest is someone whose stories may already be sitting on your bookshelf. Matthew J. Gilbert is a New York Times bestselling author who has written more than 40 books for young readers. His works include titles connected to some of the most beloved franchises in pop culture, including Stranger Things, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and more. Before becoming a full-time author, Matthew worked as an award-winning television writer for Nickelodeon, bringing humor, adventure, and laughs to stories for young audiences. Today, we're talking about his newest middle grade series, The New Norm. The book follows Alexander Norman, a middle school student who unexpectedly goes viral online and suddenly finds himself navigating internet fame, friendships, middle school drama, and the challenge of figuring out who he really is both online and off. It's funny, relatable, and packed with the kind of awkward middle school moments that readers will immediately recognize. So, whether you've posted something embarrassing online, worried about fitting in, or wondered what it would be like to become internet famous overnight, this conversation is for you. Let's welcome Matthew J. Gilbert to Reading in the Middle. Matthew, hello. Welcome to Reading in the Middle. I'm so happy that you're here on our podcast. How are you today?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm always excited to do a podcast, so I'm very excited about this today.
Me too. I'm very excited. And really, I just want to talk to you about your new book, The New Norm. Like from the start, I want to tell you, Matthew, I noticed how genuine Norm's voice feels. Readers, I'm going to tell you, listeners, you are going to really be inside the mind of Norm because right away, you get inside of his mind as he copes with some sudden viral fame after a dentist video. How did you craft Norm's voice, Matthew? And did it come easily to you?
I'm honored and amazed. I love hearing that I captured Norm's voice. The truth of it is, I'm older, but I'm a big kid. So a lot of the way that Norm thinks is sort of the way that I still think and I've thought my entire life. It just, to me, the thinking and the humanity is the same. It's just the slang is different. That's all. So it's like I feel in certain situations, they're universal, right? The idea of like, especially now today, right? The way that we present ourselves on social media and the way that we are in real life. And it's like, it's not just influencers and older people and adults and teens that are dealing with this. Kids, to a certain extent, are dealing with this too. So these are universal experiences. So thankfully, I'm able to channel my inner kid, put it through that lens of social media and just let it go. Norm has been such a fun character to write. I've now written him 3 times. And each time my wife reads everything I write and she's always telling me, she's like, you're getting his voice close and every time. She's like, it's like right on the money, right? Close, close, close. So it's like, I feel like Norm and I are starting to become kind of one in a way. So I'm so honored and thank you so much for saying that. Like that means the world to me because that means that you were connected to Norm. And that's really all I want at the end of the day.
Yeah, because the opening chapters are hilarious, but they really are. And with the humor lies also vulnerability. Vulnerability. Norm, he yearns to belong and be seen after feeling invisible for so long. Matthew, why was it important to balance comedy with emotional honesty?
Ooh, well, that's an awesome question. I think that you can't have one without the other. You need comedy. To me, the things that are funniest in life are the things that are true or the things that we relate to or that we're like, oh yeah, I felt that way, but I've just kind of never had the lightning in a bottle, to put it that way, before. And so when you hear a great, like a comedy bit, or you hear a great song, or somebody says something that resonates with you, immediately like your heart recognizes it. So it's kind of the same thing. Like, you know, I think life is inherently funny, and I think the internet has made life, it's made life a little weird, but it's also made it kind of hilarious, because it's so, look at all these new rules we're making up for ourselves. We're doing things for likes. These are like imaginary internet points. They don't exist, but for whatever reason, we feel like we have to accumulate as many of them as we can, or we don't feel seen. And that's funny and silly. But then, like, right, the more I think about that thought, I'm like, there's something there that everybody should be seen. You're doing these things because you want to be noticed. No one is truly invisible. No one should feel that way, especially a kid. I think kids at that age, I think adults, it's okay, because you always have like something else to hang on to in your life. You have a lifetime of experience. For kids, all they know is that moment. So it is important for every kid to be seen. So it's one thing for me as a writer and a satirist to laugh at the silliness of the internet, but when you really sit and peel the layers back, you're like, yeah, it's a little sad. Like, people just want to be noticed. That's all. Like, I think that's what it really is at the end of the day. So I'm excited to glue those two things together, because to me, you want to impart that emotional resonance with somebody. And to me, the best way to do that is with comedy, because that is another universal language. We all like to laugh at something. We've all noticed something's funny. So once those two flavors are tied together, that information travels really easy.
And the scenes with Mia and Jordan stand out because they highlight how friendship dynamics can change with popularity. Did you initially plan for friendship to be the story's emotional core rather just internet fame?
You know what's funny is I feel like a friendship is almost at the center of everything I write, even if it's not norm. I've done a lot of licensed work too for other big properties that people know, like Stranger Things and Nightmare Before Christmas and big stuff like that. And I think at the center of everything, norm included, it's friendship, right? We all need community. We all need camaraderie, again, going back to being seen. But it's funny, I always find myself coming back to that. I also love, just like on a surface level, I love funny sidekicks. To me, it's great if you have a funny main character, but a sidekick is where you really get to like play, because the main character has a lot of business he's got to do, right? He or she has to go on a whole emotional journey. They're helping you be a cipher for the reader to take them through the stories, but your supporting characters are where you can have fun, where you're like, I want to do this joke and it really doesn't tie into anything, but I think I can get away with it if I give it to this side character. And they wind up getting some of my favorite stuff in the stories. So I love writing them beyond the sappy, like friendship stuff. It's fun to just be like, okay, I have a list of ridiculous stuff. Jordan can do this. Or I think Mia, I love how Mia is a character who is a lot of like a lot of girls I knew growing up, especially my sister. They're tough. They're tough on the outside, but their toughness is funny. Like, there's something just inherently funny to me about it. And I like to give a lot of that business to Mia. So it's funny too, because again, I think you have these different personality types, and it just helps kind of round out the world. It helps it feel more real. So, because everybody knows a Mia, everybody knows, that kind of tough person that's got a good heart, like got a heart of gold underneath. Everybody knows a Jordan, your wild scheming friend who wants, and he sees dollar signs instantly, kind of wherever he goes. Everybody's got that kind of friend. So it's just fun because you can have a lot of fun with those characters. Side characters are the best.
I could tell you had fun because, I was just laughing and feeling those characters. And you're right, everyone knows a Mia and everyone knows a Jordan. Just, even if it was in grade school or even, you know, right now, somebody that they know. Someone knows some.
Oh yeah, of course. I have Mia's and Jordans all through my life. Even texting I text with my sister every few days, and I'm like, this is Mia. It's literally Mia.
And also, Matthew, book captures like how quickly middle schoolers can change their treatment of someone once they gain online popularity. What conversations did you hope readers would have after seeing how Norm's classmates react?
The big one is it's, to me, it's like this almost the central sort of thesis of the story, which is I hope that kids discover on their own that life is more important than likes, and that it's okay if you like something and someone else doesn't like something. Those differences are what make us unique, and they're what make us special as individuals. You don't have to. I think right now in social media, life, right, we sort of like, if you see that a post has a lot of likes, you want to compile on and be like, yeah, I like it too, you know? But I also think it's important to have some individuality. It's okay if you like something someone doesn't else like. That doesn't make you weird. It doesn't make you different. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I also want kids to have the courage to be like, you know what? I'm going to be myself and be true to me, whether it's liked or not. Like it's okay if not everybody likes something. It's okay if I like something. So I would just want those kids to take away life, be about life. Life is more important than likes. And I think if you can have that, you can be happy, you can lead a fulfilling life, you can go on adventures, discover something about. I would not be in the position I am in right now if I had just tried to do only what I thought people would like. Like I would not have had any of the life experiences I've had. So I would just try to tell kids that, like life more important than likes.
I really like that. This should be a t-shirt.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
You know?
actually, I should get the t-shirt made. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And Norm's excitement about becoming the new norm is amusing at first, but readers begin to notice how draining it becomes to constantly perform. Did you explore the pressures of maintaining an online persona intentionally?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it was something that my life informed a little bit too. Cause like, you know, as an author, I'm trying to get the word out about my life, right? You have a podcast, you're doing a lot of social work, you're trying to do a lot of outreach, and it becomes its own avenue, right? You're not just the creator of this piece of content, which is already a job. You now have also a second job, which is to do all the social managing for that piece of content. And it's funny how I was just noticing how much importance I was putting on that aspect, where it was like, okay, I got to get the post just right, or I got to figure out when I time a post, what I write, who I send it to. Okay, but people see things at this time more than they see. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We got to worry about the creative. We got to worry about what it is first before we worry about all this other stuff. My dad used to say, worry about the foundation of the house before we build the house. Don't worry about what the bathroom's going to look like. Worry about what the house is going to look like first, and then we can get to the bathroom. Then we can get to these other things. So I looked at social media the same way, or I try to. And I'm only human. I'm like I get wrapped up in stuff. It just happens. It's who we are. But it's extremely important in a story like this one, where you have, again, kids who live their lives in two spaces simultaneously. They live their real life in middle school, and they also live their real life in middle school online, and a place where everybody's watching. People are scrutinizing every move you make. So you gotta just, I think it's just the reality that we live in now, for better or worse. And it can be a great tool, can be a great life, but it can also come with a lot of pressure too. So it was definitely important for me to make sure that was represented in the book, especially through Norm, right? Norm, he's already telling himself he wants to, the new Norm functions on a few different levels, It's like, it's not just his name, but it's also just the way, the status of his life, the status of how things are, the new norm, right? So for him, he takes it in a couple different ways throughout the story as it unfolds, He's like, okay, well, this is this new version of me, almost like new and improved. I'm going to be famous now. I'm going to be important. People are going to want to have lunch with me. Big deal stuff. And then as he goes on, that new norm, as the status quo changes and he sees how things are different now, that new norm is, it's a bit of a gilded cage because people expect certain things. Well, when I see you in real life, you have to do the funny thing you do when you're online. And sometimes you don't want to do that, or sometimes it's just not the time or the place for it. And then at the end, it's kind of discovering that now the new norm takes on a third meaning, which is he knows he can be himself without that stuff, and that that's okay. And that this is this new version of himself he's going to try, and he finally feels comfortable. So all that is tied into.
It is. And I'm thinking about the cafeteria scenes. It perfectly captures the awkwardness, seating politics, and social pressures of middle school. Did you draw from, and I know you didn't have social media or anything like that back then, but did you draw for your old middle school experience for those?
Oh, 100%. And by the way, I am so glad I did not have social media when I was in middle school because the dumb things I did, I cannot imagine somebody had like been like, this is going to live forever here in this little box. We can always now go and look back at what you did. Like, I am so grateful that was not a thing. But it's just so funny. Like, okay, I was a kid a long time ago. But those feelings of awkwardness in the cafeteria, the little choices are the most gigantic. Like, where am I going to sit? How are we going to sit? Like, okay, well, how are other tables viewing our tables and how kids sort of start to cluster into these cliques? And you can see the cafeteria is almost just like a perfect microcosm. It shows you right away, like, this is the ecosystem of the school. This is where your cool kids sit. This is where your jocks sit. This is where your nerds sit. This is kind of the kids that nobody really knows what their deal is. They're kind of sitting together. Like, and I have felt that. I think we've all felt that. I remember there's a bit in the book where I talk about their table being by an old, like a vending machine that sells chips, but nobody's touched the chips in a long time. They're like very old and stale. The box, like the bags are all dusty. That's real. That was me. We used to sit by an old chip machine in the cafeteria that what didn't work. We would try to get it to work every year. It never worked. And it was just became this landmark for us to be like, hey, that's our place. We sit here. And I decided to put it in the book because I was like, I needed some kind of almost like a totem to anchor me to be like, all right, I got to remember what this felt like. And I was like, I'm putting the chip machine in the book. And I'm so glad that my editors kept it because I was like, oh, great. Now I'm using this icon lives on forever. And my mom even she read the book and she remembered the chip machine and she was like, you should call your school and see if they still have that chip machine.
Should. I'm curious to know that. It was good you kept they were able to they kept that in the story too, because I'm glad you mentioned that was real. Because you just who would think, right?
Oh yeah, a lot of the stuff in the story, even if it's not like a one-to-one, like a lot of the stuff is based on something real in my life. I find that when I'm writing, even if I don't want it to come out, that's what comes out. The realness, the experience, your personal experience, even if it's just a shade of it, it starts to be found in your writing. And I've just learned to embrace it. I used to try not to do that because I'd be like, no, 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 no. That I'm trying to be this big picture thinking writer. I don't know. It's like I've just learned to just accept it now. Because I'm like, that's some of the best stuff. Like that chip machine is like one of my favorite things.
It is. It's great. You should call that school.
I know I should I should buy that chip machine. That would be amazing. But not touch it, leave it broken, leave it dusty, just the way we remember.
Do you remember the kind of chips they had in there? I'm just curious. Do you recall?
Oh my, well, this will date me, but I'll tell you. I remember it was when it was new at one point. They had Doritos 3D. Do you remember that? Doritos went
Yes.
3D and they were like puffy. They were so weird.
Yes, I remember that.
And they did not do well because they're not easy to find. I'm sure you can get them on eBay for like $50 or something. Somebody has held all the Doritos 3D
Yes.
bags. But I remember that was one of the chips and we would always make fun of it. We'd be like, look at Doritos trying to be 3D. Just accept who you are. Be yourself. Don't be 3D. And we would laugh at the stupid 3D bag because it was also the bag that was like right in the sunlight. So the bag had faded. Like it was just like the constant comic. So I always think of the Doritos 3D in that bag, in that machine.
You guys roasted Doritos so bad. Nobody
We
wanted
did.
the
We did. We
Doritos.
did. And listen, I love Doritos. Even now to this day, I'll eat Doritos. But I never got to try Doritos 3D. I think that was the other thing because it was like weird. It was this holdover from a brief period of time. Like you could tell, like, oh, they bought this and they thought this chip was going to be a big deal. So they were like, we got to put a bunch of these in here and nobody cared. And the machine broke and it was just like this weird capsule, this time capsule. So Doritos 3D.
That is
Yeah.
that's the best. Now, Matthew, we talk about Vera. Vera isn't just a stereotypical crush character. Vera is grounded and genuine, and Norm admires her. But what do you want readers to, what did you want them to understand about the difference between admiration and truly knowing someone?
Yes, that's a great point. Yeah, the bit with Vera that I hope people take away is that looks can be deceiving. Just because someone is like Vera is the most popular girl in school, and you sort of see how Norm sees her as well. Like we know in reality she's the most popular kid in school, but to him, she's like a celebrity. She could do no wrong. She does everything amazing. Even something as simple as like getting her notebook from her desk. She does it like the best. And I wanted to see that sometimes I think it can be two ways, right? But like if you don't judge a book by its cover, like even though she looks like she has has it together, is a perfect person, all that stuff. I think you in your mind assume already like, oh, she's going to be maybe a little conceited. She's going to let that go to her head, but she's actually like well adjusted and she's the only one that's kind. And when other kids start to when the bandwagon kids start to sort of fall away, when Norm's fame is kind of like, he's not so cool anymore. He's a little old news. She sticks around because she sees something in him. She likes the creativity. She likes his personality. I don't know, or I won't say whether she likes him like that, but I will say she is not what she is cracked up to be. You would think the popular girl in school would not have time for somebody like that, would not be as sweet and caring. And I've met people like that. I remember, you'd always look at like the student council, you'd be like, this person got to be like this popular person, but they're probably just so wrapped up in themselves and what's going on. They have no time for other people. And that's not true. I've known people who were just been like, I'm like, wow, this person is so emotionally well adjusted. And it's just like an amazing person. Even from that young age, they're able to be like, I'm the most popular kid and I'm also incredibly kind. Or like, it's not an act. I really care about my fellow students. Of course, I should be the one that leads us as the student council president. So I wanted to just have that admiration, as you said, from Norm, maybe some other feelings too, but mostly just kind of like, wow, in a way, Vera is almost everything Norm isn't, because she doesn't really care what other people think and probably has never had to, because she's always been in a position of power. So for her, she's used it to, be herself, live her best life, but she's also used it to like reach out to kids like him. So it's kind of cool. I want it to be like, hey, it's also unexpected. Just as like a reader, you see that character, you automatically think you have her figured out. So it's kind of cool. I love that little twist to be like, nope, she's a little different.
I like that too. And I also like how adults, especially Norm's dad, are layered and caring rather than background characters. Like, for instance, Norm's dad trying to use slang like Riz was a highlight. What inspired their relationship?
Yeah, so I kind of decided early on, I was like, because Norm's dad in the book, his job is he is a child psychologist. So like you think that again, that character is going to be like very cerebral or like, kind of very like academic, not able to connect. And it's quite the opposite. I'm just a fan of a sitcom dad. I love a sillier dad, a dad who's like, he's not like the dad who's like a macho guy. He's not the dad who's like the oaf. He's just like kind of silly. I really like that. And I wanted to have that be, again, as a twist. I was like, okay, well, he's a child psychologist. Like, I think it would be kind of funny if he's just like really sweet. He's well meaning, but it's also true. Like, I know a lot of parents who love to mess with their kids, especially with the slang. So, like, they get a kick out of the kid being like, oh, no, dad, please don't say the thing that I say. That's the worst. I think that's hilarious. Like, I don't know if you've seen those memes, like when 6'7" was a thing and all the kids were doing 6'7", 6'7",
Yes.
and a dad figured out when the kid would say that, he went 8, 9, 10. And the kid was like, no, no, no. It was like that simple thing. And the dad got such a kick out of it. And I was like, that's funny. That's the exact kind of dad I'm talking about. Like, he's able to be a dad. He's able to, try to do the best he can for Norm, show him a good example, but he's also not above having a little fun with him, because it makes him funny. It makes him a silly character. I also kind of figured out age-wise that he would be about my age. He would be a millennial. And you'll start to see that come out in the future books, where little millennial, like if you remember things, if you're a kid of the 80s or 90s, you're going to start to see like, wait a minute, I think I'm Norm's dad. Because you'll start to see like, oh, of course he likes this. Of course he listens to this. I think I had a dig at him in the first book where it says, Norm says, my dad still watches movies without looking at his phone. And I was like, that's exactly it. He's from another time where we didn't have phones. We would just go to the movies, and it tells you everything you need to know about him.
Or standing in line and, waiting, not have, I grew up with a phone, so I mean, but
Yes,
everyone, you see people just like,
yes.
I could stand
You
that.
can't mobile order something. You gotta like if you gotta if there's a 20-minute line at the burger place, you gotta wait 20 minutes. Like
Right.
you gotta figure out what to do in those 20 minutes.
Now, Matthew, while many discuss kids and social media today, the story doesn't feel preachy. It's honest, which I love. How did you approach writing about internet culture without making it education?
Thank you so much. You're making me like feel so like good about this book. Thank you. Yes, I always try to maintain realness. I don't ever want to talk at someone or make them feel like preaching to them. I think it's more about that shared experience. I think the way you do that is instead of saying, "Hey, I think this and this is the way we should be." I think it's more like, "Hey, this thing happened to me and I feel the same way that you do." And starting to find that common ground, like I think that it's also easier to do that now because we're all in the same position, regardless of whether we're a kid, an adult, a parent. We are all on social media. So we all get it right away. And I think it is important to make sure that it's funny. Social media was built for us to connect, and it feels like it's the most isolating thing sometimes. And I think it's better for us to just remember this was about talking with each other. That's what this was about. That's why this was created. So I think if we just talk with each other instead of at each other, we have like a better conversation, and it helps us be the best we can be. And I hope that I'm so glad to hear that it came through in the book because also Norm makes it easy. You write somebody funny like Norm, and again, that kind of messaging,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel heavy. It feels more like, oh, he's internalizing it, he's reacting to it. Of course, right. That's the way I feel. Um, so yeah, thank you. I'm glad to hear that because like I don't ever want to come off as like listen, some of those after school specials were amazing, but like I don't want to
They
come off like
were.
an after special like we gotta do this. But there's something there too, right? Like Schoolhouse Rock, where I'm only a bill. Yeah, it's good to learn and do it in a fun way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and not have it feel like homework.
Right. It doesn't feel like that. It's fun. You get laughs, there's perspective, you get to think, but all in all, you know, you can tell that you loved writing this. You know your characters. You can tell through this book. And listeners, it's just, especially my educators and teachers, gonna have fun with this book, sharing this with your middle schoolers. You're just gonna enjoy it so much. And without any spoilers, Matthew, what do you hope readers take away from Norm's journey by the end? No spoilers.
No spoilers. By the end of the book, I hope that you take two things away. One, life is better than likes. Live your life. Don't live it for likes. And two, I hope that you remember to laugh at yourself because Norm, I think that's kind of the journey that he's on. That's a journey a lot of us are on. So I think once you can learn to laugh at yourself, all that anxiety, all of the thoughts, all that stuff will melt away and you're able to just live your life, be in the moment, be free, not be so aware of how you look, what you look like. Just live your life. So I hope that's what people can take away. And I hope they can also just have a good time doing it. To me, it's a victory if somebody walks away and says, you know, my kid reads a lot and thought your book was funny. And also, hey, my kid never reads and he thought your book was funny. Like that to me is a huge win. If I can help any kid want to be like, I want to read something. And look, it doesn't have to be my book. Whatever you want to read. If I help any kid, if I make them want to read, they'll be like, you know what? I tried the Norm book. Maybe it wasn't for me, but I saw this other thing I want to check out at the library and I want to read that too. Awesome. That to me, job well done. I've done what I came here to do.
Okay, Matthew, here we go. It's time for our lightning round. Bing, 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 bing. Are you ready for this? This is where I ask my guests questions And whatever comes to your head or top of your head, you just answer it. Now, sometimes it can take a while because you may have more than one answer to this question, but feel free, if you want to continue going on and on and on, you can. But for me, this is lightning round. Are you ready?
I am ready. I am ready.
If Norm could go viral for something besides the dentist dance, what would it be?
Definitely his snapback collection. He loves the snapbacks.
Which character would handle middle school drama best in real life?
Oh, honestly, I think this is a cop out answer, but I think Norm's dad might handle middle school. If he could go back in time, he would handle it better, I think, than anybody.
Good answer. I agree. I agree. I agree. What was the most cringeworthy middle school trend you remember?
There are so many to choose from. The giant pants. Do you remember Janko pants? You'd be like wearing the giant pants. They would drag through the puddles, drag through dirt. Just giant pants. I'm not talking about MC Hammer pants.
Oh, no, no,
Those
no. I know what you're talking
it
about.
would catch on the ground. Yeah, the Janko pants were like, it was like you were wearing a tablecloth. They would catch on everything. And you would always see the kids who
Popular.
wore them too much because the bottoms would be all like, sort of like
Frayed.
cranked up. Yeah, that was the worst, I think. I think that was the worst.
Yeah, it's kind of cringy. Would
Very cringe, very cringe.
would you rather relive middle school for a week or redo your first day forever?
I'll just do middle school for a week. That way I can just get it over with. I'm not looking forward to doing it. I was not cool in middle school at all. I was one of those kids who sat by the stale chip machine. But if it just means I got to do it for a week, that's fine. I'll do anything, mostly anything for a week versus forever. So I think I'll take that one.
What was your favorite middle grade book growing up?
I don't know if it's a middle grade book, but my favorite author growing up was Ray Bradbury. And he wrote a book called Dandelion Wine, and it's
Yes.
amazing. Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite book of all time. It's just about a boy. It sounds like it's got the most deceptively simple premise, but there is so much happening. It's just about a boy in the summer. That's it. And you read that, and Ray Bradbury takes you on a journey of all kinds, emotional, spiritual, psychological. It's an amazing book.
It is. I read it in high school.
Yes, I love that book. I love it so much.
A snack besides Doritos that would always be at a middle school lunch.
Oh, that would always be, there was always, maybe not today, but back in my day, I remember we always had some kind of a snack cake. Somebody always had like a brownie or like one of those fudge rounds or like the cosmic cookies that had the fun, those like little Debbie's, those kind of things. I think it would be one of those. That takes me right back if I see that.
Sounds good. Like ding dongs or something. King dongs.
Yes. And I always think of them around the holidays, those little white Christmas trees. Remember those little white Christmas tree cakes? Oh my God, I think of those every year at Christmas.
If the new norm had a soundtrack, what kind of music would it feature?
Oh, it would feature all cool, because it's very of the moment, it's very today. It would probably be a bunch of cool musical acts that I don't know, that I'm not cool enough to know. I was really into, when I was writing this, I was really into The Weeknd. I don't know if you know the Weeknd. I was listening to him and a lot of just his instrumental stuff, and I was like, this sounds like the music to me of today. It just sounds cool and new, and yeah, although, I mean, kids now, I don't even really know what they seem to listen to everything. But The Weeknd was what I had in my head when I was writing this.
So, Matthew, what are you reading right now?
Right now, I am reading, I still count it as reading, but I'm reading a graphic novel series. I'm a big fan of the Universal classic monsters, your Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster. There's a series right now for The Mummy that's based on the Boris Karloff mummy, and it is so cool. Every issue, it's like, even though you know where the story is going to go, it's just so like new and fresh, and I'm really enjoying that. Yeah, really enjoying that.
Oh my gosh, this has been so great. Matthew, I want to thank you so much for joining me today on Reading in the Middle. This book, The New Norm, is humorous, fast paced, highly relatable, but it stayed with me throughout the whole exploration of friendship and the pressures of middle school and fitting in. You will love this book. You will absolutely love this, and it's so much fun to just read the book. And Matthew, I want to thank you again for you being on Meeting in the Middle. Sorry.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been amazing. It's been a great conversation. I honestly love your show. I love the format of your show. So thank you for making it fun for me.
Well, this was fun, and thank you for being here.
Anytime.
Matthew, thank you so much for joining me today on Reading in the Middle. I loved hearing about your journey from television writing to children's publishing, the inspiration behind the new norm, and how you continue to create stories that capture humor, awkwardness, and heart of being a middle schooler. Your books remind readers that it's okay to be imperfect, make mistakes like I just did, and learn who you are along the way. For our listeners, be sure to check out The New Norm and Matthew's many other books, including his Stranger Things titles, Classroom 13, and his work inspired by some of your favorite fictional worlds. And as always, if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with a fellow reader, educator, librarian, parent, or book lover. You can follow Reading in the Middle wherever you get your podcasts and connect with us on social media for upcoming author interviews and book recommendations. Until next time, keep reading, keep wondering, and keep discovering stories that help you grow. I'm Annisha Jeffries, and this has been Reading in the Middle. Happy reading!